Joe with the first comment. Bird flu Tony. Ah! I sound a lot worse than I feel. Um, yeah, so I guess it was a whole host of people that got sick at the convention. I personally don't think it was anybody at the convention. I don't think it was any of us. I think it was just going to Orlando and being exposed to the plethora of flora that comes from other hemispheres for a visit, and we're not prepared for. And I always prep with emergency, and I didn't this time. I honestly forgot, and that's why I got sick. I even slept more than I've ever slept at any convention before, which is weird. And I was sadly disappointed we didn't get the emergency wake up call when the sprinklers went off. I asked Mitch about that, and he said, "No audio. That's on your end. I got it here. I can't fix it. I hear audio. Looks like you got the flu too, and your ears are stopped up." um, Let me check. I could do something here, but it might end up getting really loud. Oh, there's the mic. And let's see. Well, I'm just going to keep saying things. Let me know if you hear me. I didn't change any settings. I don't know why it doesn't work this time. Those nerd burglars are always tinkering with things. Hey, use our free program called Streamlabs. All right, I'll use it if it's free. And then they go and fuck with things. Then you got to relearn it every time. I do not change settings. This is what I do, not this. Now we have it? Okay. Does it work now? No. I don't know what happened. I hear you now. Can you hear me now? So I don't think that any of us got sick because of us. I think we're just exposed to... Now, I did think that maybe it's the nasty hotel that probably hadn't changed their filters and maybe they got something in their filter, but... Maybe only the clean people got sick because Mitch didn't get sick. Anyhow, it is what it is. I actually had to go to the clinic. This is what's wrong, and while this is happening, I'm thinking I'm going to tell the people across the pond about my experience with the medical system, because I've already talked about how you can make our medical system better. Okay, and there's no doubt it can be better. But the system across the pond doesn't fix those shortcomings that I see right off the bat, which is being able to go see a doctor immediately. I called my primary care after one day. I'm like, let me see if I can go see him. I was fine. I even did a Monday morning episode, which is unheard of. That's what got me really sick, doing an episode before I went to work, right? Right, and I went on Sunday. I came back from the convention earlier than I ever come back, did 4 hours at work, shored up all the damage that people there had done, even did extra stuff so we'd hit the ground running on a Monday. And about 10 o'clock on the Monday, I'm like, I can't continue. Now, I kind of saw it happening, so I'm like, let me hurry up and do everything I need to do during the day so that somebody else doesn't have to do the next day's stuff. And at 10 o'clock, I left. I left at 10 a.m. on Monday, went home, got in bed, was in bed from 10 a.m. until 6 o'clock the next morning. And I tell you what, I don't know if I'd rather be at work the whole time other than being in bed. I don't want to be in bed anymore. I'm exhausted. I don't know if I got bed sores or I was tired of being in bed. Going in and out of sleep, having all kinds of crazy ass dreams, including things that people did at work without me knowing that would cause problems when I got back. I'm like, it was just like Chinese pebble torture without the pebbles. So I went back to work on Tuesday, and what happened on Tuesday? I made it most of the day on Tuesday, and I'm like, okay, I got to go see a doctor. I go call my primary care physician, and they wouldn't answer the phone, and they're like, well, we can't see you unless you have a negative COVID test. I'm like, well, why are you going to go to the fucking doctor then? Anyway, so I'm like, screw this. I'm going to go to what my wife likes to call doc in a box, the urgent care, the off-site emergency room. And they saw me today. They said, well, we got to do the 2 tests for us. I said, do whatever you want. So they did a flu test on me and a COVID test on me. I would like to proudly say I still have not lost my COVID virginity. I have still not gotten COVID. I just got a different flu that has always been around and will always be around. And, it doesn't get, if the flu is like the fucking Germans, right? Then COVID is the SS. I don't do SS. So, anyhow, I'm on the mend. They give me some Tamiflu stuff, but yesterday and today, I was like dizzy as shit. Like I had like I drank half of a 6-pack in a hurry, But and it hurts when you cough because I coughed so much on Monday. And I sound congested, but I'm good enough to do this. So just anything to keep me out of that bed, please. No more bed. I don't need to spend 14, 16, 18 hours in bed. It drives me crazy. Anyhow, back to WW2. So, and I don't remember, and I had short-term memory loss with the confusion, with the spinning. I don't remember whether I did these guys online or not. I think I finished them offline or something. I honestly don't remember what I did. Maybe it was on Monday morning, but this is one of the M4A4s that's complete. And, I did get something in the mail that was late in coming. And I was going to do an unboxing on these, but I'm not going to do it. I've suffered so much the last 3 days. Like, I need to take a break. So I actually got these decals. Somebody recommended me getting these from a company called Alaran. Alaran Minis in Michigan. And I got some Allied Stars, which I need them for a few Shermans I have to do, and I can't use the Petting House ones because they suck. I got some British tactical numbers. Tactical numbers? Division service markings. Division service markings, that's what it is. Got 2 sets of those. And I've got UK Northwest Europe 44-45 units. So that's going to be for these that we're doing right now. So we did get these in time, but we're going to build the rest of these Shermans. But in the process of doing the Shermans, because we got to armor these guys up, we are making extra stuff out of green stuff for them. And this is using the stinky stuff that Neatitite, which seems to work okay compared to the Army Painter stuff, but it doesn't smell so good. Let me put the super readers on. And extra piece of track here. Yep. And extra little bolt-on tracks here. So yeah, lots of people complained at the convention they got sick. So it wasn't just me. I don't think it was from somebody else at the convention. I think it was from outsiders, interlopers. They just got germs we're not used to, you know? Oh, this one didn't cast well. These road wheels. Which, you know, of all the things that I need the least, it's this. But, you know, look at all this we wasted, so. Bye-bye. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and mix some more of this stuff up. And we're going to recast another set of these because right now we need a lot of this extra armor, extra track. And we've got 1, 2, I don't plan on using the originals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So I'm probably going to have to cast like 4 more of these. I'd rather have too much than too little. The fireflies are always covered in them. So, and you can see the size difference. Plastic Soldier Company stuff usually is a little on the larger size. And although I think this is 176, but it is definitely girthy. Now, Sherman wasn't a small vehicle to begin with, but you know, this is, I believe, a Frontline. It's not a very good model. It looks like they were doing something here and they gave up on it, on the casting. However, the tools are beautiful. So, you know, it's a mixed bag sometimes. You know, it'll work just fine. It's a War Games model. When I take something ugly like that, it's like, well, let's just make it the prettiest, ugliest thing they've ever seen. You know, someone goes, man, that's a nice model. Who makes it? Frontline. Oh, those are a piece of shit. Well, mine was a piece of shit too, but I decided to paint it nicely. Would I go out and buy that now? Absolutely not. But I already had it in my collection. So, okay. Do the best you can with a piece of shits that you have. All right, let's see if I can remember about how much of this stuff that I used. I am not a fan of this kneaded type, just only because of how it smells. Oh, do I have the wrong chat on? Let's see. Live chat. Don't want to miss anything. Up to 4 folks. Well, I'm back from the dead. No, not really. I'm back from spending freaking half my life on the bed. I'm just too tired. I actually feel fine. I don't sound like I feel fine. I do feel fine. It was a little spinny today. Yesterday was rough. I almost merged onto another car. You know, when you're getting 20 hours of sleep, maybe not 20 hours, but 14 hours of sleep, and you're still sleepy, something's wrong. No, water can't reach there. Let's just give this a little smush. Put this stuff back. Oh, look at that. And the Ziplocs even in yellow and blue. Ah, it's a conspiracy. No, actually, I don't know if I'm going to buy this stuff again. Just because I don't like the smell of it. I know, it seems like a silly reason, but it's just an unpleasant smell. I don't even know what the hell it smells like. Oily cereal. If you ate like breakfast cereal with like brake fluid, I don't know. It shouldn't smell like that. The Army Painter stuff doesn't smell at all. Well, not everything smells good for the hobby. And no, but some things smell good. Like Coat the Arms paint smells nice. I don't want to bathe in it, but it's a nice smell. Most paint has no smell. You know, not Captain Crunch with brake fluid. Make sure there's not a little plastic lining in here hidden on the edge. It's kind of hard to tell somehow. No, looks like we're clear. There's just this little bit. It's like that wrap on the sausage. The skin on the sausage. That's not skin, exactly. All right, let's get some on our fingers. And let's blend. It looks like we've got another dud here. Well, this is the kind of 3D printing I can handle. It's not expensive. Most of them turn out okay. Yeah, I have no interest in doing any 3D printing. So I just had to get online because I couldn't stand another night of being in bed the whole time since I got home from work. And I know you guys needed something to do. So I did it for you guys. Oh, my daughter's home from college and I can't spend any time with her. I don't want to get her sick. And this stuff sticks to your hands a lot more than the other one. I don't know, maybe I won't buy this stuff again. It is nice that the two pieces aren't next to each other. You know, they aren't like on a strip where the yellow and the blue are right next to each other, and then the area next to both has already kind of started the chemical process and doesn't mix well. That's kind of a bummer, the ones that do the little strip thing. Is not only is it a smaller amount, and this stuff is a lot easier to knead than the other ones. The other one is like, holy crap. You're trying to strangle a neck on an ox, I can imagine. I don't go out and strangle animals. It's America. We don't have to strangle them. We can shoot them. And it seems like it mixes faster too. But it does get kind of like a little foam or something. Anyhow, this stuff's weird. All right. We don't need this stuff very thick at all. Let's just spread it out. Let's get a little wet spot here. And see if we can judge kind of how much of this stuff we need for each one of these. So this one only needs a little bit. Well, the thickest one I'm going to save for the, is going to be for the wheels because they have the one that have the most depth. So we're just going to do something like this one. Hope it's not a 100-day cough. I don't know what that is. The cough was bad the first day. Yesterday it hurt like a mother. I didn't cough very much, but when I did, man, it hurt like crazy. I did get a doctor's excuse. You don't have to go back to work for 3 days. Yeah, that doesn't work in the real world. Even if my boss would say, yeah, go ahead and stay home, I'm like, I'll stay home, but I'm not coming back. I'm not going to leave with no notice. have somebody else try to figure out what I do, and then I have to clean it up. I'm not doing that. I'll be in tomorrow. So, I missed most of the day Monday, but I did all the work I needed to do. I just didn't check things, and things went sideways, me not checking things. Just have to limit the chaos that I'm willing to put up with. But everybody at the show, most people at the show got sick. Everybody but Mitch. That's why I said, I guess only the people that were clean got sick. I don't think it was from the show. I think it was just from the flora that there is in Orlando. The South American flora that comes from Orlando. Nothing against foreigners. I'm just saying that there's different germs that they have in their body around them that they carry around with us just like we do, and we're not used to fighting those. What's a 100-day cough? I did have a cough a couple of years ago. It seemed like it was for at least a month. It was annoying as shit. I never could pin down what it was. I think it was just pollen related. We have a lot of pollen here. Everybody's here like, you gotta save the trees. And the trees are poisoning us, trying to kill us. Choking on tree sperm. And then half of yesterday and all of today was like spin cycle. It felt like I've had too much fun at happy hour and had no fun. I hope I'm in condition to be able to use a sharp object. I may have to stop doing this because I've had like short-term memory loss and everything, but I'm just glad that they didn't take my COVID virginity away. I can still say I've never gotten COVID. I just got a different flu that's always been around. One of the biggest problems I've experienced lately is just lack of concentration. I'll like do something and then a little while later, did I do that? It's like, come on, just proof that I never want to do those kind of drugs. I never want to do the kind of drugs you go to the bathroom and then go a little while later you're like, did I wipe? It's a little too late now. You've walked 10 miles. That's an M. Night Shyamalan film plot. 100-Day Cough. I don't know that I've ever seen any of his movies, and the movie that I would have probably liked, but somebody spoiled it for me, but I did watch it, and I'm glad they spoiled it for me because I probably wouldn't have watched it, because there's some things that just scare the shit out of me. And demonic stuff and things with horns I don't do well with. And the village, if I would have seen that, that would have been a mind fuck. I watched it after I knew what was going to happen. I'm like, oh my God, that was real. And some people might have seen it coming, probably like my daughter. My daughter and my wife like to see things coming. I don't try to figure things out in movies. They're not paying me to be Sherlock Holmes. I'm just along for the ride. But man, what a mind fuck that was. Okay, I'm not doing that well with my lack of skills at the moment. And I used this stuff before. I just wanted to get more of this stuff made. All right, fuck it. I'm throwing in the towel. It's going to drive up my blood pressure that's been really low the last couple days because I've been like all zen and shit. Bye-bye. We're not doing this today. Let's see if I can fuck up a model. If I fuck up the model, then I'm done. Hunter? No, the trees are poisoning us. Oh. Well, it's a symbiotic relationship, right? I mean, they need our CO2 and we need their oxygen, right? We both work together. Or something like that. No, these damn hippies, and I have nothing against trees, don't get me wrong, but a 60-foot tree belongs 60 feet from your house. It doesn't, I'm not a fucking Ewok. And the other town I moved from, this basically run by a bunch of Ewoks. Even this one, okay, they built this brand new neighborhood next door. True story. Not only is it a true story, it's fucking happening right now. And this happens all the time. They'll chop every tree down in a neighborhood. Okay, fine. Oh, we're going to plant other ones. Okay, I got it. So they take this suburban neighborhood on these tiny little plots. House, 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 house. No trees on any of them, right? So where do they put the trees? They put the trees between the road that goes into the neighborhood. The road that goes into the neighborhood has this tiny little green space, probably, I don't know, a meter. See, I went metric for you guys. A meter or so wide, and then you have the sidewalk, and then you have the actual property of the house. So in this meter, they plant these trees, which look great right now, right? But what do they plant? They plant these little 8, 10-foot tall magnolias, sycamores, these trees that are going to be gargantuan. They're going to be wider than the 3 feet. They have no vision. So then they get so big, they can't cut them down. They destroy all the pavement. They destroy all the nice things that you made. You need to plant little trees there or put the bigger trees somewhere else. They're not going to destroy the sidewalk or people's houses or stuff like that. There's just no foresight in that. I don't hate trees, but they shouldn't destroy everything you've worked for, But there's no foresight in that. I learned the big tree problem right off the bat. I had the first house that I had this little common green space. My hands are still sticky with that shit. Not a fan of Neatite. And there was this big sycamore, huge tree that was just, it would rain all kinds of shit on your car. You could never keep your car clean. And I just gave up, and these little dots stayed on my car forever. You couldn't get them off after a while. And yes, I don't want to park under a tree, for sure. 100-day cough is becoming common in the UK, has been spreading since last year. No, I did go about a month. I don't know how long ago it was. It was annoying. It was dry as shit. Okay, next Sherman. There's Jerry's to blow up. Okay, this is the one we don't need, and this is also the one we don't need. All right, we didn't start building one? I guess not. All right. Let's see if I can mess this up. I'm just trying to do anything but stay in bed. And I got a super expensive, comfortable bed, and I was getting bed sores. Did manage to lose 6 pounds in 2 days. I wasn't eating. I'll probably fix that with making up for that. The real reason I got really sick because I did a morning show before work. That'll learn me. What are the odds? 1 in 1 it happened. Okay, that should be enough to get us started. Oh, I got 2 of the same sprues. Well, we don't need the other one just yet. At least coughing today doesn't hurt. Yesterday it hurt like bad. It'd be like, it hurt and like come with like a headache, like an immediate headache. You know, they would go away, but still you get pounded. It's like you're banging your head into the wall. That's all right. That's all right. In a couple of months, I'm going to take I'm going to blow my nose into a couple of handkerchiefs and mail them to about 3 different places in Brazil. See how they like that. Florida sends its love. So I was waiting to get off work, waiting for the crew to be done, and I remembered something that somebody had recommended me watching. And I remembered it, and I'm like, yeah, I got nothing to do. Let me go ahead and try watching it. And occasionally you'll run into things that many different, I don't know who the hell told me about it, but many people have commented on it, and they were all positive comments. First thing I heard of was that some new Shogun thing. I'm like, all right. And I was thinking it was on Netflix. It's not on Netflix. It's on FX. Well, I don't get FX. So I can't watch that. And I thought it was in the 1500s, but it's not. It still has a Westerner in Japan. I'm like, no, I wanted it to be about all the just Japanese people, man. Why you gotta dumb it down and put a Western person in the audience? Make it about old samurai people and their Shogun. You're not interloper coming in. Anyhow, it didn't matter. Couldn't watch it. The other thing I thought about was that I heard lots of people saying good things about is that show on Amazon called Fallout. Well, I never played the video game. I tried to play the video game, but it didn't captivate me. Just something about the look of the game just didn't care for. I'm not a fan of Bethesda games. I don't know what it is. If it's the fonts they use, the menus, I don't know. It just doesn't jive with me. But I'm like, all right, well, I'll watch this and maybe I'll like this and want to play a Bethesda game. Well, I'm watching this, and to kind of preface this a little bit, I had, on my drive down to Orlando over this weekend, I didn't want to listen to my usual Audible selection. So I noticed that Dan Carlin had dropped a couple of new episodes, and I'm like, well, let me listen to one of them. He's a guy who does history podcast, and he's entertaining to listen to most of the time. And he had this interview with this author about a nuclear war book that's based in fiction, but with interviews that she had already done with real people. And the interview was so good, I searched if it was available on Audible, and it was, narrated by her, and I started listening to it. and it was a hard listen. It was hard for me to listen to it. I got pretty thick skin, and I had a hard time listening to it. There's just some themes I just don't like. That just don't sit well with me. And and anyhow, so 10 minutes, 15 minutes into this Fallout thing, I got to turn it off because I just don't like things that make fun of nuclear war, that make light of it. And I can't put my finger on what it is. Maybe it's because I lived in a time period where we have successfully so far not had one go off, that it's disgusts me that some movie nerd can just decide to ruin. I know it's fantasy, but still, this is different to me. Can just decide to just make the whole world end just by the stroke of a plot. Shogun I've been watching is Reduce of Shogun series on Disney. I don't have Disney. I thought it was the one on FX. But anyhow, I just think it's disgusting. I don't like plots that make fun of the end of the human race. I just don't like it. I just it doesn't sit well with me. I didn't like Mars Attacks. I know it's a comedy, but the humans didn't kill the living shit out of those motherfuckers. Okay, that's how it should go. I'm a humanist. Humans first. I don't care what color you are. I just that hey, that's my thing. And I don't enjoy people ending the human race. I will join whatever side it takes to combat that. Now, there's some people that I know that claim to have family members that look forward to the end of the world, supposedly. I hope those people are sorely disappointed. It's not cool. You do not get to do that on my watch. So, anyways, I don't like that plot. It really disturbs me. It disturbs me a lot. Just like I don't like horror movies where horrible things happen to innocent, pretty girls just because they're pretty and the director couldn't get laid. I don't like that. It just doesn't sit well with me. But so I couldn't watch that series anymore. So I guess I'll never play the Bethesda game now. It's based on a true story English sailor during the Tokugawa shogunate. Yeah, I was thinking it was during the 1500s with, all the warring states. I just, we got to put a Westerner in there so that people can relate. Come on, man. Okay. I know, I'm the exception to the rule. I don't have to have a war movie that has Americans in it. Did I almost fuck this up? Probably. Please don't make me go back to bed. Man, the dreams of being. You wake up and you don't remember what's happened, what really happened, what's about to happen. Yeah, I thought it was 1500s and it was all Japanese. Well, I don't want to watch it then. If it's not that. They can get some other white boy to watch it. And then I saw this other movie, and I'm like, oh, let me start watching this. And I realized that, oh, I've seen this before. And didn't remember that I saw it because the name is so freaking generic. It's called like Eastern Front or something like that. Like, geez, could you make it a little bit more generic? Yeah, we'll make a movie called 1944. You know, how about a war movie where the Americans are the bad guys? Okay, fair enough, but who are the good guys? Because see, that's the problem that I have with Russian movies, Russian World War II movies. The Germans are the bad guys. I get it. If you're a Russian soldier and the Germans came in and scorched earth your land and didn't come as liberators and started, you know, raping all the people of your country, I get it. The Germans are the bad guys. But they whitewashed all the stuff that happened to them by Stalin, and, you know, that doesn't work, you know. The Chinese, no. No. There's good people in China, and they just got to keep their head down, you know. It's not their fault, you know. I did get a show that was recommended to me, okay? And let me think of what it's called here. I'll tell you. The Terminal List. I couldn't watch it. I could not watch that show. Now you have to remember, I've never been in the military, okay? Well, I've almost was in the military, and I'm probably glad I wasn't ever in the military, and not because, you know, just because I'd take shit even more personally than I already do. And I have nothing against our veterans. I said before, I don't know if I said it on this program, but I've told people in person. I said, if I ended up serving in a war, and I got over the fact of being freaked out about possibly dying at any moment, I think that's the hardest thing. If you can get over that, I'd be guilty of war crimes. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to be one of these guys. You know, your platoon's being shot at, you know, half your guys are killed, and you take this position and the last 7 guys surrender. Nobody fucking surrendered. I'd mow them all down. There's no doubt about it. And I wouldn't even hesitate. I may have nightmares about it later, but I'm just saying that's a normal reaction, you know. You know, I never went in the service when I went to MEPS 3 times, and I met some good people just going to MEPS. You know, so just imagine if I had some kind of even more camaraderie with, you know, serving with folks. But I couldn't watch the Terminal List. I couldn't watch it because just thinking that half of that was true. You know, that there's people that are that crooked in government, in your own government. That's really disturbing. That's really, really disturbing. Well, I hope there's a revolution. We go after those people first. We can all unite and go after those people. Okay, this is the part that goes on the bottom. Have they made a movie like that with the Chinese? The Chinese are never the good guys. They can't even use the alphabet. Well, the Russians can't either, so that doesn't speak well for them. Get with the program. You know, use whatever language you want, but you got to use the alphabet that the rest of the world uses. Sorry. Everybody makes such a big deal out of the metric system. The alphabet's a bigger deal. When you can't even read a sign or make out what the hell it is. Get with the program, pal. Right. Hmm. They thought they were freeing Korea. I'm sure some Germans thought they were liberating the Ukraine. And then when they got there, they realized that wasn't the case. They better just keep their mouth shut. Okay, and then this one. The other kind of movie I don't like is a movie, and I've only seen it one time, so if I get the details wrong, excuse me. What was that movie called? Well, I can't remember what the name of it is. Is it The Deep? Some movie where, I don't like anti humanity movies. Yes, there are bad humans in the world. There's no doubt about it. The rest of us need to, combat them. Where, we get dictated by some alien, some shit. I say we kill all the aliens. Fuck them. Humans first. Ukrainians thought Germans were liberating them. Yep. Well, that would make sense, but, what the Germans were up to didn't make sense to anybody that was sane. Yeah. That makes sense to anybody except those that have read Mein Kampf. And I have not read Mein Kampf, so it didn't make sense to me either. Nor am I planning on reading it. During South Korean film, I see a lot set in the time they were occupied by the Japanese. No, it wasn't that long, was it? They occupied them a little while in the 1500s. And then came back just before the Russia-Japanese War, right? The Koreans definitely do more history stuff than the Chinese or the Japanese. The Japanese don't do any history stuff. It's almost like they're embarrassed. It's almost like the Germans are afraid of like making any war games, depict war, and the Japanese are afraid of doing any samurai films. You know, there's so much samurai history stuff they could be doing. It shouldn't offend anybody. It's Japanese killing Japanese. I mean, it's not like, oh, we can't put that out there because we're going to think that we're making somebody look bad. No, it's your own people. Like, no, it shouldn't bother anybody. I always feel like these tracks don't always fit well. Like the spacing on the top is right. I mean, it's exactly where it needs to be. It can't go any further this way because it's all up against the other piece of plastic. But then this sits farther in than it should. War Games model. Okay. Japanese help with Tora Tora Tora. I love Tora 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 because it's like, we need a scene on a Japanese battleship. Do you have any? No. Ah, fuck it. We'll build one. Love it. That's how you do it. None of this CGI crap. You know. We got to build a Nagato. Perfect. Make it so. Much better than that Midway crap. And I'm not talking about the 1976 Midway, which I haven't seen in many, many years. I'm talking about the new one that's just garbage. It was so crappy you couldn't even fool my daughter. Skipping bombs and nonsense. Hollywood nonsense. Okay, that's the Firefly. So this is the standard hull. Japanese occupied Korea 1905-1945. Okay, so because of the Russo-Japanese War, and they were there a little bit in the 1500s. When they launched the attack, they succeeded, and then got kicked out. Like, they went in like the 1570s or something like that, and stayed through like the before the 1600s. Okay, here's the turret, standard turret. And the bottom of the hull. Yeah, I just don't like stuff about nuclear war, making light of it. It's just disturbing on so many levels. The first people punished are the ones that least deserve it. You know? We need this. And this one. But even though I only watched it for 10 minutes, it didn't take even that long to realize how revisionist it was. You know, it's supposedly set in like the late 50s, early 60s. You could tell by the cars, right? And one of the main characters has a mixed child. I'm like, there was no mixed children in the United States during that time. If they would, it would be very, 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 very rare. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, you know, that's pretty off there. But regardless, that's not why I'm not watching it. I'm just, don't make fun of that plot. That's sick and twisted. I don't like it. Same thing, I don't watch horror movies. I don't like seeing, you know, pretty innocent girls that are just, things happen to them that they don't even remotely deserve. Just because the director couldn't get laid when he was an 18-year-old. Not cool. Was the Russo-Japanese War part of World War I? No. No, some say it's the first modern war because it had machine guns and stuff in it. But it was probably the first war where the Japanese... What was the first war that the Japanese, after they got kicked from the mainland, decided to come back and actually did something offensively. So, although I have a sneaky suspicion that the casualties that the Japanese suffered on land were pretty high. They might have won on land, and you know it didn't take a whole lot to run circles around the Russians, especially since that time period The Russians were some of the more highly conscripted European nations in that time period. And Japan hadn't been modernized in a Western way for very long up to that point, but they ran circles around them. Especially on the water. I don't think a single ship in the Japanese Navy in the Russia-Japanese War, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong about this, there weren't many, was built in Japan. I think they were all British for the most part. If they did have some Japanese built ships, maybe Mikasa was built in Japan. I don't know. That's not really my period. That's before my period, but their ships definitely had a lot more elan than the Russians. I recall a Japanese movie with Jap infantry fighting Russian tanks. I haven't seen it, but I saw one where they're basically running trucks into them, like suicide bombers. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that didn't happen. That's 1939 in Manchuria, not 1945 at Iwo Jima. They're not that desperate at that point. And speaking of Japanese, I got another couple of Japanese vehicles from the convention. So if you guys are Japanese vehicle fans, you get to see me build those. Well, there's not much building to them, but painting them. Yeah, coughing is a hell of a lot better than it was 2 days ago. But what I was going to say is, I got to I was experiencing this in the last couple days. I'm like, I'm going to tell my viewers in England about my experience with the U.S. medical system. And that is, so you're sick. So you go and call your general practitioner. Hey, I need to see an appointment. And of course, that's what I want to tell to them, but they don't pick up the phone because they're busy as shit. And they have this lunch break. And you leave them a message at 1 p.m. and they don't call you back until 4:45. They call at the wrong moment, leave you a message, and the message goes something like, yeah, we'd love to see you, but we're too busy, and you still need to go to your local pharmacy and pick up a COVID test. We won't see you unless you're COVID negative. Okay, so you basically, general practitioner never wants to see a COVID patient. Okay, well, I can see where that's impractical. So I'm like, I basically gave up on them and go, fuck you, I'm going to go to the emergency room or the independent thing, which which costs my insurance a lot more money and costs me more money, but I need to get like antibiotics now, not in a week. So even with a non even with a medical system where not everybody gets care, you still can't get care. Because you can't just go onto the counter and get antibiotics because, oh, you might overdose and you create some super virus and we can't stop it then. And, oh, go crawl under your bed. So I never wanted to go see the MD. I don't like going to the MD. It's a pain in the ass. They're always too busy. They make an appointment for 8 o'clock. It's 9:30 and still haven't seen you. It's like, if service is this bad when it's the way it is, I certainly don't want it to be where everybody can get it without, equally. Like, geez, I could never go see. I don't want to go to see the doctor. I said before, the way to make our system better is it not take so long to see a doctor. So I call this urgent care that I've used before for the same fucking reason, because the doctor wouldn't come see you for something different. By the time I call one of those places, I've had whatever this is for a couple days. Like, okay, it needs to happen now, right? Like, I really don't want to use their services. It takes time out of my workday, etc. And they just don't want to see you. So, I'd prefer not to go to them if I didn't have to. You have a good doctor, it seems. Good, enjoy them. I'm glad you do. You probably need them more than I do. I generally don't need to go to the doctor. And actually, the person who saw me, which I think was a nurse practitioner, was excellent once she saw me. But I had an appointment for 10:15. I was seated in the room after I had already made an appointment. About 10:45, and a doctor didn't come into the room until 11:20. I was in that room. I didn't know my battery on my phone was going to last long enough. I'd done so much surfing. I drifted in and out of sleep. But at least they weren't a dickhead when they showed up. But I don't go to the doctor until I'm like, okay, I'm sick, and at the rate we're going, I'm not going to get better on my own. And I can't miss any work, so let's do something. I don't go to the doctor because I need somebody to talk to. That's what I got you guys for. Okay, this is going to go on the front. And we have to glue that in before we put that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and do... This was kind of tricky last time. I remember when my daughter was little, she'd fractured her arm. And we took her to the emergency room, and we didn't have a pediatric emergency room at the time. My daughter was like 2 or something like that, really, really little. And they said, no, you can't feed her or do anything. And then they wouldn't see her either because there was a big accident. People kept coming in. Well, after you're waiting like 6 hours, I don't give a fuck how many more people come in. I'd say, this is my daughter. It's like, do I need to go in with a 9mm and start threatening people so you can see my daughter? You know, because that's nice, but, you know, at some point my daughter needs to be seen, and, you know, I pay for medical coverage, so at some point you need to fucking see me. Don't make me come show up with my friend Beretta. I went to a vet hospital recently, seen nobody wanted to be there. Yeah, well, it's a shit job. It is. It's a terrible job. I wouldn't want to work at a medical place. You know? I have a telephone appointment with my general practitioner in 7 hours. Better go to bed. Not had a face-to-face appointment for years. The pandemic has been used to change the MO of health professionals. The pandemic is the worst thing that's happened in my lifetime. Without a doubt. It is a source of excuses for all kinds of shit. Well, hopefully you got that appointment with your general practitioner relatively quick. It's not like, well, we can't see you for a month. Oh, and it's not in person, you know. What I hate is if you do one of those televisits, they want to charge you the same amount of money. Now, wait a second. It doesn't cost you the same amount to make those visits. I think the fear of COVID is not so bad here in Arizona. So you don't want to be there, including staff. Yeah. Well, when I went to the urgent care, it said you don't have to wear a mask unless you've got a cough or something or other. I'm like, I didn't have a cough at the time, so I ain't wearing one. I didn't have a fever. I've said this before. I actually enjoy getting a fever. What? What are you talking about? I said, well, it calms you. You're cold all the time. You know, I take blood pressure medicine, and my blood pressure has been great last couple days because I've been calm as shit. Because it's like, I'm just kind of moseying along in everything I do. Instead of running around like a maniac like I normally do. Maybe I should get the flu more often. I'm just glad I didn't lose my COVID virginity, so I can still say I've never gotten COVID. I didn't get that string. I've gotten other strings. What really surprised me about COVID is we've got some friends that live south of the border. And I thought for sure Mexico would be like, that's white people problems, you know, and just be like, basically like, pfft. And they say it's worse. They say it's worse down there. Like everything got shut down and people were just scared of going outside. And I'm like, that is just whacked. I thought for sure they'd be like, that's problems for the güerito, you know? Nope. Apparently it's worse. They picked up anemia on a blood test I did for my diabetes clinic, asked me to take a non-urgent appointment. First one I could get was a month on. I just, that's terrible service. That's terrible service, especially for a televisit. You know, let's say they can knock out 12 a day of a regular visit. You should be able to knock out twice as many televisits. I think it's just an excuse to be a slacker. Slacker excuses, and it's never going to change. When I had COVID, the only sign that I had was testing positive. Yep. Well, the one thing you always remember is if you lose your taste of smell, if you lose your sense of taste. Because those of us that like to eat, man, we miss the shit out of that. That hasn't happened to me in 10 years. Because the thing that always comes to mind is like, oh, time to break out the shit sandwiches. Because it tastes the same as a ham sandwich. Have at it. Oh, this goes on the inside up here. Okay, on the inside. Yeah, it's terrible service, but here's not that much better. You know, if I missed a dentist cleaning, you might as well forget it. I gotta wait another 6 months. And I have a pay and go to whoever the fuck I want insurance. You know, not like, well, you got to use this guy that only works on third Sundays, assuming there was a full moon the night before. You know. That's not. Oh crap! Really? That wasn't supposed to happen. What's the meaning of this? I've slept so much the last 3 days, I'm terrified of getting back in bed. Yeah, it seems like my cough is bad, but it's all soft. Yesterday, I would have been like pounding headache after each one of those. Sherman's, absolutely, man. Can't have enough Sherman's. Everybody likes to talk shit about Sherman's. Hey, they were a good tank. I won't do any Soviet Shermans, though. Fuck those guys. In my world, the commies don't get Shermans. I'll do what the Western Allies didn't have the balls to do, and don't send them Shermans. Oh, hold on a second. I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to take a little break. I'll be back in about 10 to 15 minutes. All right. Where the hell were we? Shermans. Yes, Shermans. Can't have enough of them. And we're going to make them look cool. They're all going to be unique, as they were. Now, the interesting thing is these have the extra armor plates that are welded on here. And there's 2 on this side, but only 1 here. So there must have been where the extra ammo was put on the side of the racks, no doubt. You do not want those penetrated and going off. Now, where are the readers? There they are. The super readers, I should say. All right. So, there's not a whole lot of flash on Plastic Soldier Company stuff. As a general rule, almost never any flash on their stuff. Did I end up gluing this on? I didn't, did I? Okay, well, we'll fix that. You're getting your ass glued in. Man, I sound terrible, but I don't feel that bad, honestly. I feel better today, even that morning. I did a morning film. Okay. Now, I get to say my favorite word, cupula. It's not my favorite word, but that's this right here. You know, you go through different stages of building models as a kid. The first stage you go through is you have this part like, oh, let me get it off the sprue. And you just wiggle it and you leave a crime scene basically on the piece. Then you get a little older and you use an X-Acto knife and you're like, oh, okay, and then you trim it right on here. And then you create a different type of crime scene. Not as bloody a one, but still. And then you finally do what you should have done all along, and that's to use clippers. And then trim the pieces once they're away from the sprue. This little box in the back. Maybe we'll put the commander in this one. We're gonna put the commander in one of them. One of these 3, even though they're all going to be 75 millimeter Shermans. I wish I could build one as a Firefly, but I already have 2 Fireflies that I can't turn into a standard one. So that way we'll have 4 standards and 2 Fireflies. The proportion will be about where it needs to be. Hey Marcus, sorry to hear you're not feeling well. Seems I'm the only one on. I have my head down painting. Okay, well thanks for the heads up. So we We had this convention last weekend in Orlando. I actually feel okay. I don't sound like I feel okay. I actually feel okay because I felt worse yesterday and I felt worse the day before. And the day before that, I felt fine. So, um, I got a flu type A. Still have never gotten COVID. But, could be worse. I didn't have a headache, which would drive me crazy if I had a headache this whole time. That would drive me crazy. It could be a lot worse. The bad thing is like you don't feel like doing anything. Not being hungry, that's wonderful. I need more of that. I lost 6 pounds in 3 days without even trying. Now I just need to keep that. Now I just need to keep having the flu for another. Let's see, let me do the math. About 10 months. And everybody that wanted, not everybody, but a good chunk of the people that somebody posted on the Facebook page for the convention yesterday. I saw it at 1:48 this morning. Why did I see it at 1:48 this morning? Well, that was the 8th time I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm talking about being confused. But said, anybody else get sick for the convention? Yeah. There's a lot of people that got sick from the convention. I don't think it was from each other, though. I think it was from the flora that is prevalent in places where lots of foreign folks come to visit. And I don't mean that in anti-foreigner. I'm just saying that people that come from South America, for instance, have different stuff, different germs with them that we're not used to fighting because they're not here. So, yeah, lots of people got sick. So, saw your video on what I purchased. Good prices on those. Well, I bought everything that was appropriate. I'm not excited about these Panther turrets. But after I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, they'd be good for scenarios, especially if I'm playing this Panther side, right? If I'm playing, running the guys that have this, it's just hard to get excited about this thing. But they'll be fine. I'll try to do a good job with camouflage and make them worthy. Yeah, like, I'll take a Japanese tank for $1. You know, I don't care if I do anything with it. I think I'm going to get $1 worth of enjoyment out of it. If I ever find something in my scale at a convention, you guarantee it's a good price because nobody does 20 millimeter. So they're like, I got to get rid of these things. I've been sitting on these things for decades and nobody wants to buy them. Because they're not 28 millimeter. Turning into a bitter old man. Every time you hear something, you just get tired of hearing over and over and over again. You're like, okay, I don't like those. I don't like 28 millimeter and I don't like Glocks. No more of those two things. Now let me get back to my rocking chair. But we had a great convention. Had a great time. Talked to lots of folks. I'm sure patient zero was not one of us. Certainly not if this many people got sick. We definitely encountered something that came from another season, not another time zone, another season. I'm going to guess Brazil. Somewhere that a lot of visitors come from that we're just not used to their germ flora. I don't mean nothing ugly against them. It's just a fact of life. And I didn't pre-dose with emergency. I forgot. Oh well, because we ended up going to New York City. Okay, when we went to New York City, and you know when I went because you and I talked. You told me about going to that store. We were all up inside that New York City subway, up and down all those tourist attractions, and people come from all parts of the earth to go to them. Went into another states, into Connecticut and all that. None of us got sick. None of us got sick. But what happened? We were taking emergency every freaking day. We went to and I know the New York subway system is nastier than the hotel that we stayed at. I mean, the hotel we stayed at isn't a very nice place, but it wasn't as nasty as the New York City subway. We went to Canada, which was not a dirty place at all, by any stretch of the imagination. But completely different flora there. Didn't get sick. And I go to some place in my own state, an hour and a half away, and half the people that go to the convention, roughly, got sick and got some flu. You know what's interesting about that comment is how much 72nd and 20 millimeter products exist now. Seems like so much more than when I was a kid. Yeah, lots of makers out in Asia, Ukraine, and Russia as well. I know. Yep, it's like they know the truth, but look, I would like to know what percentage of the people that do 28 millimeter and genuinely like 28 millimeter is because they got used to it by playing Warhammer, Fantasy, 40K, any of that stuff, and got worked in that way, or they just like that scale. When I was doing this, there was no 28 millimeter World War II. And if there was, it would have been like, we make a Tiger tank. What else do you make? Nothing. They were still arguing about what scale it really was. Is it 156? Is it 164th? Is it 148th? I don't know if that's been sorted out. I'm just jealous of stuff like Rubicon models. I think they make like a model of a Panzer III, and you can make like every mark out of that one, and comes with a shitload of decals. I'm like, you dicks, But I'm not doing 28 mil. I would go back to 15s before I would do 28. They're just too big. They're too big. They take too long to paint. They don't need me buying 28 millimeter. There's already plenty of people buying that stuff. But in the last 20 years since I left World War II, there's so many companies that went out of business that I cared for. Not Britannia. I never liked Britannia, even though I have a few of their tanks. I hated Britannia figures. Sorry. They have tiny feet. They all have these huge, awkward faces. They all look like the same guy, regardless of whether he's in the German army or the Japanese army, or he's a desert rat. They all have the same face. It's awkward. Same thing with FAA. FAA has this gaunt, jaundiced-looking face I can't stand. Not a fan of FAA, but they're not out of business. Who else is out of business? MMS. MMS is out of business. Cromwell. The Chinese movie is called The Battle at Lake Changjing. I'm in it for the same reasons you, but I can't imagine going up to the scale. Not enough space for war games. Yep. I want to play an actual scale. So can you imagine your figure just got 50% bigger? Crap. Now my battlefield's only 100 meters long instead of 200, No, this is the perfect scale, And when I got it, what sold me was, what's his name's figures? Was Dave Alsop's figures. It was the infantry that sold me. I'm like, these guys all look different. I'm used to like the plastic figures in this scale, and they're like, yeah, you got one guy with a submachine gunner, one rifleman that's not in a stupid position. You know, you got one guy surrendering, all right, he's useless. You got another guy that's like trying to fight somebody like on the rafters. Okay, that guy's useless too. So if you're going to give all these guys names, you're going to have six of them in the same pose. That just doesn't work for me. And then you've got these other figures where they make 50 or 60 figures for the Germans, and every single one of them is different. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want. He is, without a doubt, my favorite sculptor. People can brag about AB all day long. Fuck AB. I like Dave Alsop's figures better. I'm his biggest. I wish I would have got a chance to meet him. Maybe he was a dickhead in real life. May have been, but he was a great sculptor. Maybe he was a communist in real life, but he was a great sculptor. I don't care. Hey, it's not like Picasso, who was a communist and sucked. Never missing a chance to dish on Picasso. This guy's got a really bad back injury. Let me see if there's another commander that has a little bit more chance of pulling through. No, they're all screwed that way. Well, let's go ahead and start repairing that. Yeah, at least the cough today doesn't hurt to high heaven. That was yesterday. All right. He's whispering in his microphone. Message for you, sir. Boom! Okay, we got to make sure that this is going. Yeah, it's funny because I think when I got those figures, he'd already passed on. But his Napoleonics that he did for Old Glory, I can just see a casting, I know that it's his. And I don't know how to describe his style, but it's almost like it's an oil painting done in a style that I really like. It's like rough, but not rough. People really started knowing about him, at least here in the States. I started hearing about that they liked his castings when Old Glory came up with something called Ragged Rebs. So it was American Civil War figures, and it was Old Glory, and Old Glory is like, instead of having like 8 or 12 or 24 figures, there were like 50 figures in a fucking pack, and like wham, and you get like 12, 14, 16 different varieties of them, and they're not exactly in equal proportions of what you got. But the Ragged Rebs were like, some guys were, they weren't uniformed rebels, they were just all kinds of different stuff. Some with no hats, different hat, a kepi, a regular, just odds and ends kind of stuff. And they had a lot of personality. And he went on and did some French Napoleonics, some Austrians, same things. I've had those coughs. When you feel it coming and dread it because you know there will be pain. That was yesterday. Today there's no pain. Yesterday was like when you cough like that, it reverberates and you have a splitting headache at the same. No, luckily I don't have that today. Because the coughing was bad Monday, and then I was sore from it when I was coughing yesterday. That's what was really bad. But like I said, I sound really bad, but I don't feel. Hey, I'm feel good enough to film. You didn't see me doing that yesterday. But hey, the show must go on. I can't have the freaking flu keep me down. We got to build these tanks. We got to kill some Jerrys. Sit around and have the Germans take over the world just because of a little cough. Anyhow, I just didn't want to spend another 12, 14 hours in bed. Jesus, drive you crazy. Drive you crazy and confuse you. wake up and you have work dreams, you don't remember if it really happened or somebody screwed things up while you were gone, and it's like maddening. Okay, the periscope, I believe, goes on the outside. So when it folds open, it needs to be towards the outside. Now, we're going to use a little trick that maybe somebody else already came up with, but I didn't know they came up with it. So as far as I am concerned, it's my trick. We're going to use a couple pieces of the stickum, also known as, I don't know what the hell it's called, blue tack, wall tack. And we're going to put some of this right underneath where this goes. So that when I lay this and push down on it, it helps support it. And this side may need some, but honestly, it'd probably be okay laying flat against the roof of this turret. Let's see what it looks like first. We're good laying flat, okay? So we'll go ahead and install that one afterwards. We're going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue here, or a little bit of plastic softener. Make sure it's the one with the periscope. Put it in, and then press down on it into the correct position you would like it in. And leave it be. And then on this side, we will come over here and do that. Let's not use our finger, just for good measure. I'm going to cheat this open a little bit because I see that the hole that the 50 goes in is right there. I'm going to go ahead and install it in there, even though we're going to rotate it. That's kind of a design problem there. Okay. I think we can make that happen. Okay. And we will go and put the rear box on here. And the commander will fit in there. He won't be glued in place. And we'll glue the other part of the 50 at some later point. Okay, so that one's done. So let's do the third one, which will have a closed hatch. I'm eager to try some figures and models for EWM. I've been eyeing some of their Pacific Theater figures. Well, I haven't seen any in the flesh. I know that sometimes you encounter things, just something about them strikes me as wrong. My favorite figures are, without a doubt, I mean, it's not even close, are Dave Alsop's Combat Miniatures cast. Second favorite is Battlefield Miniatures. I got a bunch of Germans and Soviets from the Stalingrad range that are just have a lot of personality. They're really nice. They have some helmets that aren't always 100% consistent with each other. But I like how he does faces, and as a general rule, I'm pretty happy with him. So that sculptor, whatever his name is, has made some sculpts for another company. and he did some British for North Africa. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I don't have any troops for North Africa. And I look at their troops and I'm like, something seems off about them. And it's their helmets. Their helmets, the British steel helmet that these figures have for the desert rats just doesn't seem right. It's almost too much like a derby. It almost looks like a derby. Yes, that's what Simon Soldier sells. His and maybe it's just the pictures, but the helmets just put me off about them completely. So I think if I end up getting any white metal figures for North Africa, I'm going to do AB. Now, my only problem with AB, and I have some of their figures, they are expensive, but my only problem with AB is that they all look like it's the same guy over and over and over again. Now, in AB's defense, it's not like Britannia that had a guy with a very unusual face that's very large with really small feet, and you cloned an entire army and they all look like that. No, the AB figures are all well normal proportioned, and they don't look out of place. So you could have a bunch of repeat figures and it wouldn't bother me. But they don't all look like they're the same guy. That's not a knock on them. That's just, that's just an observation. So I'd rather do the ones that are sculpted by, is it Andrew that his name is? I think it's Andrew. Because I do like his style, but something's wrong with those helmets. They just don't seem right. AB scale's very good. I have some of them. I think I found some in a flea market, and I got some Panzerschreck troops or something like that. And by AB. They have faces that aren't awkward. It's not like, oh, there's Joe with a big nose. They just look like normal folks. There's nothing like out of place. You can have a weird looking guy in your squad, but when everybody looks like a weirdo in your squad, you've had some serious inbreeding, Heads, weapons, etc. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want any overscaled MP40s or something like that. Those all need to be consistent looking. Okay, sand skirts. We're not putting sand skirts on any of these vehicles. I'm already stuck with one of them on the Firefly. Yeah, but go look at those desert rats, and their helmets just look weird. It's a shame. You look weird to me. To my eyes, you guys across the pond like to say. But even with the weird helmet, I'd get those before I get the FAA. I do not like the FAA figures at all. I got some Russians way back when before I knew what they looked like, and I got rifles that look like just a tube. And the bottom part of the rifle is another tube. So he's literally carrying around almost like an over and under shotgun when it should be a rifle. It's just weird. It's just really, really weird. And their faces look like if Gilbert Gottfried did a really squinted shit and he was jaundiced at the same time, that's what it would look like. They make a Cross of Iron set, right? From the movie, right? 5 or 6 different characters. Every character has the same face. Well, what's the point then? Hey, these are the figures. What figures? The ones that look like jaundiced Gilbert Gottfried taking a big shit, They might be somebody's favorite figures. SHQ are very well proportioned, but most of their figures are uninspiring. You know? You're currently painting some old plastic Revell US Marines. Must say they're nice figures, good poses, nice uniform detail. Are those the same as the old Airfix Marines? The ones that came with a little rubber boat? Because a lot of the Revell stuff is just rebranded other brands. Eschi, the ESCI figures, I never liked those. They were all like super necky. They were just like weird pose. They're almost like a flat pose, like these over. They were just like weird poses, weird poses. All the Airfix figures got no problem with them. All their poses are great. Okay, let's. Oh, got one more thing that. They're different? Okay. You don't have any FAA figures? Don't think they make these figures anymore. Part of your old stash. Well, what I didn't realize is the old models, like the decals, didn't work anymore. Like, I wasn't expecting that. But hell, I'm not even afraid of painting my own decals if I have to. You know. You have a lot of FAA. Yeah, I can't stand them. I can't stand them. And it's funny, my buddy, my original Mitch, that was his favorite manufacturer. You know, it's not my cup of tea. Okay, now let's build this the right way. No, you know what? I did it the wrong way, and I'm going to do it the wrong way again. I think you're supposed to put the track on first, then put them in here, but I didn't really have any trouble fitting the track underneath here. I like not having to move it after I put the track on. Till it cured. My only problem with the combat miniatures I have is they're really old, which means the figures I have a high lead content, which means they can be fairly bendy. So I'm afraid of painting them and they may not be able to last. So I'm a little concerned with that. They're like the pre-1990 change where they said, whoa, we got to make things with less lead content. And the first time I hated it because it means, man, these things you're not going to be able to bend them back. Well, I didn't realize is, yeah, well, you don't have to bend them back to begin with because they're not going to bend so easily. But the high lead content, I mean, you bend them a couple times and then they're shot. Just buttering my bread here with these things. There was a vendor at Historicon still selling FAA. I think they sold the rights to somebody in the States, and I think they were there. You're building a set I'd like to buy. I don't have any Firefly models. See, so many things out there in 20 millimeter. There you go. This is my favorite vehicle manufacturer because you don't have to worry about these guys falling apart. They're pretty robust. And to think that I preferred white metal tanks, oh no. They fall on the ground and they're done. They explode. And then you have to glue them back together with epoxy or no. No. Plastic tanks is the way to go. Plastic tanks, white metal figures. I've painted some plastic figures. They look just fine, but just something about I don't know. Oh, they're just a little shifty. I'm just old school. Try not to overbuy. That's right. Buy everything you want, but finish what you had before. Okay. Now we got to do the suspension. Nope, we got to do these things on here first. Let's not forget the sprockets. Where is mein sprockets? And now let's try to break the code again and figure out which one of these goes where. It's not like that. Well, it helps if I trim these first. Got too many things on the table. I got distracted. Drew's Militia it used to be called. Battlefield. I think they're all variations of different things. One's the same sculptor with a different owner, and you know, I don't know the ins and outs of all that, but okay, this is the bottom part. No doubt about that. All right, so let's go ahead and glue this thing in. I think an SPSC purchase is going to be the Honey set. Man, I've been wanting to get that one. Trying around in North Africa in anticipation of Tix Gazala series coming out. When is that coming out? Old Tick. Only thing I don't like about him is, and it's not his fault, is after a while, he ends the same sentence, like in the same inflection. Is that the correct words? And now that's it. Like when you start, once you pick up on it, that's all you can hear. Now, I think that his way of doing it with the maps works really well for me. I'm a map guy, so I understand that. I happen to think he's pretty balanced. I don't think he's very biased. Of course, I'm not out there to try to prove somebody's biased. I just like to, you know, I don't want him to just, oh, well, this is what the German general said, and that's what we're going to go with, because, you know. So I think at least he wants to come to the correct argument, or not the argument, the correct objective. I don't know. At least that's the way I see it. So I like that. He's not trying to push an agenda. But the way he does things with the maps, man, that's wonderful for me. Seems like by the end of May. Well, the Crusader one's great. And actually, I don't know if I finished watching it. I might have need like two more episodes or something like that to watch it. Because, I can't do this and watch it because it's all maps. If you miss it, you didn't look up, you didn't see where that one unit scooted over behind something. Yeah, I got tired of the Stalingrad one. It was just a little too much of the same thing over and over again. But he worries a little too much about what people say about him. He feels like he's got to go on the defensive all the time. Just some people are out there just to be dicks. Just ignore them. I guess that's his choice not to, but I would just ignore him. Like, look, go fuck yourself. Go cause problems somewhere else. But he does stuff on a level that I want. It's World War II, and it's with maps. Like, I can't ask for anything better than that. And units. Like, he talks about the units and puts a little symbol and the little icon of the guy's portrait. All those little things so you can kind of tie everything together and not get confused. Crusader was your favorite. The next favorite was the Courland series. I haven't even watched that one yet. Given your collection, you might want to check that one out. I haven't seen the Courland one. I didn't know that whole section was surrounded. There's so much stuff about World War II that I consider myself a World War II expert, and I don't know shit about some things. I'm sure as World War II experts are out there like, man, I'm a World War II expert. Well, you don't know how to paint a fucking tank. Well, get out of here. Get out of here, pal. You non-artsy person. I was really concerned about how I was going to get my Dunkelgelb to go. I think I got it. I think I got it down where I really like it. I'm not worried about that anymore. I think I nailed that one. What do you think of my British color, by the way? You think the British color looks okay? And maybe I'll take a snapshot of it before. This was basically painted with, I followed the instructions on the Flames of War thing. I figured, well, that's a good enough start. It looks okay to me. It is bronze green. Well, it's black, obviously. And then bronze green over. And then I dry brushed the Russian uniform. I think it looks okay. Maybe the better way to describe it is actually put an American vehicle and a Soviet vehicle next to it. And keep in mind that this isn't finished all the way. We're still going to do some weathering on it, but that's still the core color. So let's grab a T-34, one that's not weathered tremendously, and let's grab a U.S. Sherman. The U.S. Sherman is more brown, and the T-34 is more green than the British color. Let's do this one. It's got more crap on it. Now we'll take a picture of them. Make sure the light's in the right way and I'm not blocking my own light. World's worst photographer coming right up. I think I'm happy with it. Now, sometimes I wish this British color was more like this one. But this is the actual Humbrol color. Now this has zero weathering on it though. This just has the Humbrol color with black in it, and then I went up I think to the core color. I don't think I went past it. So it's more of a bronze, but the Vallejo bronze green almost has a little bit of blue in it. It doesn't even look like the right color. So there's not much of it on here. This is mostly Russian uniform. Well, I guess after I do a couple of them, I'll realize whether I'd like it or not. I think I'm okay with it. And this is for Northwest Europe because the Italy ones are going to have a different color. I got to do Italy ones now that we got those Panther turrets. Where am I going to store all this stuff? I'll figure it out. Life will find a way. I like the Shermans. It's an opportunity to make something boring, potentially boring, look interesting. Soviet color. What is my Soviet color? Oh, it's the Russian armor color. It's I think it's just Russian green. Yeah, Russian green as opposed to the Russian uniform. So it actually doesn't look like this. It looks darker. So yeah. Well, we're gonna do good work to these guys. We got decals and stuff for them, and we're gonna repaint that. We're gonna repaint this thing, make it look like this. We're gonna finish this one before you tinker with the other one. That's where all this extra tracks and shit come in. Okay, man. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I sound like hell, but I don't feel bad at all. But thank you anyways. I don't mind feeling even better tomorrow. I will take that. I'm going to try to finish up this tank, and then we'll stop for the night. Okay, this is the one with the machine gun, so this is the standard M4A4. And the M4A4 turret. This one will have the closed hatch. You know, these take so long to build because I'm being somewhat careful with them. If you just pull these things off the sprue and start slapping them together, yeah, you could be done with them in no time because these are quick build kits, but, you know, if you take your time, well, part of the fun's taking your time, you know? I don't have to get these done by a certain time period. It's like, oh, we got to get them done tonight because we got to use them tomorrow. No, not going to go there. We don't operate that way. That's stress-inducing shit. Let's go ahead and pull the 50 out. There's the cannon. The MG. The cupola. The box on the back of the turret and the bottom of the turret. Aha! and then we can get rid of this sprue piece. Bye-bye. Okay. This is the next piece that goes on, so let's do that. Let's get a little closer with this, but not all the way. You know, taking off these tabs off sprues is exactly like dry brushing. Don't expect to do it in the first go around. Don't pull one color dry brushing and say, it doesn't look very good. Why? Well, I dry brushed it. Well, you only used one color. You know, you didn't add any layers to it. You can't just cut this off the sprue with an X-Acto knife and not sand it. You're going to leave a little divot in there. I mean, ultimately, it really doesn't matter that much, but I'd like to do a good job. That's why this takes longer than it should, because you're doing all this little tinkering. Yeah, honeys. Honeys are sexy cute. I liked me some honeys. Pretty sure they made their debut about Crusader. It was the first major operation they were in. Alright, let's get this stuff out of the way so if we drip any glue on this, we don't have a problem on our hands. That's going to go next. I do feel a lot better that I wasn't the only one that got sick at the convention. But again, I don't think it was because it was a convention. I think it was because it was in Orlando. And we're just exposed to all kinds of shit that comes from other places that we're not used to. This tank's got all kinds of little rivets. Well, it doesn't have that many, but it has rivets in a few places that are going to be fun to put a little bit of black wash around them to make them pop. Make them stand out. You know, when I'm sick, I realize one of the things they do when you're in grade school, get you used for being in the workplace is, taking attendance. Because once you're in school, you got to be used to, you need to be where you're supposed to be every day. I guess some people are tardy all the time or don't get it and don't do well at their jobs, but the rest of us, doesn't matter whether you're sick or not, you got to be at work because there's nobody to cover for you. And the show must go on. They're not just going to shut down the whole plant because of you. And sure, they'll survive without you, but whenever you come back, you're going to have to come fix all that shit that somebody else didn't know how to do your job is trying to do. So, yeah, I don't want to leave because it's just going to be, not only were you sick, but now you got to deal with this nonsense. So, yeah, I need to be at work every day. So, but I actually love it when the plant closes. And then it's like, you can just be like that cartoon with the sheepdog and the coyote, where the sheepdog got his wrist around the coyote's throat, and the whistle blows at 5 o'clock where it stops, and woo, and they just drop it and they just go back to being friends or whatever. Yeah, I like to just be able to drop everything wherever it is, and nothing goes sideways. That's what a vacation is, where you don't have to worry about what's going on at your place of business. And people have gotten in the last, well, I'm just speaking from the last 30 years. I can't really speak before that. The people have gotten more and more and more and more and more impatient. Give me an answer. Tell me an answer. I got an answer. And I'm like, I'm not going to give you an answer if I don't know the right answer. I'm not afraid of saying that, hey, I don't know. But, man, some people, they'll call you multiple times a day. You just got to, man, you got to give these guys a resolution just to shut them up. And the first thing I'm thinking is, man, do you not have anything on your plate? So, you miss one day of work. And you go check your messages. There's one guy that called twice a day while you were, gone. Like, holy shit, man, I can't miss work because I can't deal with that dude. Or lady, if it happens to be a lady. But in my industry, it's almost always a dude. Yeah, I feel even better now than when I started this a couple hours ago. All right, let's use tweezers for this because we don't want to fudge any of this up. There we go. Okay. Here she is. Let's see if this needs any polishing. Don't have to go very deep at all. Just want to create a divot there that gives the impression of depth. Sounds real anal retentive, but it does make a difference. Nearly done, and then we're going to call this one off. And didn't go well with the green stuff this evening. I still don't have the. I'm still not 100%. And this is really what I wanted to do. The green stuff, I was just like, well, I know I'm going to need this stuff, but I really didn't want to work with that to begin with today, this evening. Okay. realize it was that tight a fit on this one. There it is. Okay, so here are the 3 Shermans. And they are going to need a machine gun opening on this side. They don't have any. They don't have one of those. Even this crappy model, this frontline crappy model, has a hole up there for it. So, okay, folks. Well, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good evening. See you later. Bye-bye.